we will start in a first chunk of the class will be lying on our backs. And first we'll set up a roll before we do that. So if you have something like 2 blankets or a blanket or beach towel, 2 beach towels, or I say the more cushion, the better, but if you just have one, that should be enough. So fixing one more thing. The classical yoga blanket, the Mexican blanket, I would fold it in half and then half again until it's the size of half of a yoga mat. And then from there, fold it in half from its long end, which is this is not great folding. Doesn't have to be perfect, but if it's neat, your hips will be happier. So now you have a pet size yoga mat, and then you roll it up from the non-fringe end. The tighter, the better, but it's not too important. If you have a beach towel or you're working with something not quite as thick as a blanket, you just might need to fold it over more times. This is going to go between our legs to keep our legs hips width apart. So once you come down onto your back, and I already know I'm going to want a blanket under my head. First few exercises will be focusing on the breath. So try to get into a nice abdominal thoracic alignment. So having a blanket, a folded blanket or a flat pillow under the head for most bodies, especially Western bodies. Okay. Once you have your roll on your back, you'll put it between your thighs against your pelvis and let your legs rest against it. So here's where some of you might feel you need to unroll it a little bit so you're not gripping to hold the roll in place. And you're just resting. This is kind of like resting your knees against each other, but it doesn't internally rotate the legs. It allows the inner legs to, it actually turns them on. But if you feel any sharpness, any tension building, then your roll might be a little too big. So it turns them on more of in a sensory way. The holding starts to relax. And I'll be quiet for a few moments so you can just feel lying here, the ground underneath you holding you, and the parts of your self, your being that make contact with the earth, being held. Noticing if you start to judge or want to fix what you find, and simply return to breathing and feeling. Settle. And this propping for the legs, for the head, is just an invitation for your bones to settle into an alignment that gives your tissues space to unwind its patterns. So if you want to change anything about this, follow what you feel. We're feeling for unwinding rather than tension building. Mental tension, sometimes that happens, but physically, come back to the physical, that sense of settling to the earth. And as you settle, relax your belly and start breathing in a way that moves the belly, softens it, and creates space. We'll start to cultivate diaphragmatic breath. So see if you feel the back of your pelvis, the sacrum, that bumpy bone right in the middle, settling into the earth. And it is bumpy, so to allow it to settle, if it wants extra padding, either fold your mat or use any extra padding you have around, a flat folded blanket or towel, so that can settle. Propping the head up is also a technique for allowing the sacrum to settle. And to feel the bottommost part of your rib cage settling onto the ground. Your low back around the waist area, that might be not imprinting. That can be light or even caving up slightly if the bottom ribs are down, or at least heading in that direction. Now put your hands, if this is a good position for your shoulders, put your hands on your hips. And breathe the back bottom ribs onto your yoga mat and relax your low belly out. Exhale. Softly pull the low belly back in. A couple breaths like that. Breathing to expand the back bottommost ribs and release the low abdominals. Exhale, hug low abdominals back to center. Practice that 2 or 3 more times. Ujjayi breath is welcome, those of you who practice a Hatha yoga, but not required. Now we'll keep practicing this breath, but we'll allow it to start to tilt our pelvis. Breathe the back bottom ribs onto the yoga mat, but feel the top edge of the sacrum start to lift up. So that's the top rim of your pelvis where the spine begins, lumbar spine begins. Exhale, top rim of sacrum back into the mat as the low belly hugs in. Inhale into back bottom ribs, top rim sacrum off the mat. Exhale, hug low abdominals in, top rim sacrum onto the mat. About 3 more tilts like that. And you may not feel that much movement in the actual tilt. But see if your breath can soak into these pelvic bones and low spine bones. And then one more breathing exercise in this position. Once again, feel the sacrum settle, feel the back bottom ribs heading towards the mat. Rest your hands, bring your hands up towards the lower ribs, so up above the waist a little bit. We'll find the transverse abdominis. Inhale to expand the ribs sideways out into your hands. The back ribs still expand into the mat. And then exhale, draw the side ribs in towards each other, closing like a bellows, squeezing your breath out. Again, inhale, expand the ribs out. Focus on the sides, but it could be 360 degrees. Exhale, contract the ribs, the sides of the waist in. 3 more breaths like that. Notice if you're gripping with your legs or with your teeth, and relax that. Or just breathing. If your roll falls out, that's fine. And then take the roll away if it's still in place. If it's safe for your body to open your knees into a resting butterfly for a few moments, knees drop open, bottoms of the feet together. Maybe you reach the arms up overhead as you breathe back bottom ribs down. If that's not a great position, do the opposite. Rest the knees together or stay with the hips neutral. 2 more breaths. Resting butterflies. Maybe your hands can reach down for your thighs to help your legs back up. Otherwise, just ease one leg up at a time with as much ease as you can muster. Keep the legs hips width apart, or actually, let's heel toe them a little bit wider. Either open your arms to the sides or a goalpost. If that hurts your shoulders, just keep your hands on your hips. Inhale into the back bottom ribs, and exhale, drop your right knee towards your left foot, just as close as is comfortable without moving the left knee if possible. And then inhale, pick the right knee back up. Exhale, feel the whole pelvis settle, the whole back body settle in neutral. Take a breath there. Exhale, drop left knee towards right foot in a way that relaxes in the hip crease. And then inhale, pick the knee back up. Stay for the exhale, settle. Again, like that together. Breathe into back bottom ribs. Exhale, drop right knee to left foot. It might move just 2 inches. That's plenty. Inhale, pick it up. Both sides of the pelvis settle into mat. Breathe into the back ribs, back bottommost lungs. Exhale, tip left knee in. Inhale, pick it up. Exhale, settle. Now I'll give you a few breaths in silence to either continue your version of that movement, or if your body's craving a little bit more of a windshield wipe, some twisting, you can come up with your own movement following what you feel. As we're taking the bigger movements, of course, you can let your head and neck roll a little bit. Sometimes when we move tension out of the low body, it starts to pile up around the neck and jaw. You'll feel your teeth gritting. If you're in a space where you can like groan that out or make noises, it's a good way to release that tension. All right. Let's come into neutral with feet hips width apart. Yes, let's do leg slides. Hands wherever is comfortable. Now, if your yoga mat is sticky, you'll just pretend it's slippery. Breathe into back bottom ribs as you slide your right heel down your mat, down towards bottom of mat, straightening leg as smooth as possible. Relax your low belly. Exhale, hug low abdominals in to pull the right knee back up. So trying to find abdominals to move the legs rather than our over tight hip flexors. Inhale into back bottom ribs. Glide the left leg forward. Release the low abdominals. Exhale, massage low belly in to pull left knee up. One more like that to each side. Inhale, back bottom ribs as the right leg skates forward. Relax low belly at the bottom. Exhale, pull low belly in, center. Breathe back bottom ribs out as left leg slides. If you don't breathe into back bottom ribs, you'll feel how your low back arches. And that's fine if that feels safer to your body today. Exhale, pull low belly in. But start to notice that pattern. It may be something that's unnecessarily pulling on your back. All right, this time, inhale, breathe back bottom ribs out, slide the right leg forward. Exhale, relax, right leg straight, hip settle. Breathe into back bottom ribs, left leg slides forward. So you're in a little Shavasana. Exhale, settle the hips, settle the whole back body. If the Shavasana shape feels safe to you, we're actually going to walk the feet a little bit wider, maybe to the edges of the mat, to make some snow angels with the arms. If you prefer to keep your knees bent, Choose any of the knee positions we already did. Butterfly, roll between thighs, neutral, knees together. Let's start with the hands on the hips. We'll just do one arm at a time, first round. Breathe into back bottom ribs, lower right hand to the ground. And if it's right for your shoulder, slide the back of the right hand up the floor. Now, some of you will stop around shoulder height. That's enough for your shoulders. Some of you will keep lifting the hand up the floor or sliding up the floor. Some of you will need to lift it off the floor as it comes up overhead, like me. Exhale, slide the arm down the way it came up. Inhale, left hand to the floor. If it's right for you, back of hand slides up and around shoulder height, maybe start to rotate the thumb down. Exhale, glide it back down. Option to keep doing one arm at a time, or this time both arms. Inhale, backs of hands on floor. Snow angel the arms up and out. Keep the back bottom ribs softly breathing down to mat. Exhale, back down. Maybe 2 more snow angels on your pace. You can go much slower though and do less. And if it's safe for your body to have arms up, next time the arms up, maybe keep them up overhead. Yes, you can move one arm at a time, just like we did with the legs. And then take baby steps, walking your right foot towards your left foot for Badakanasana, or a supine version of standing Artichandrasana. Once right foot is over on the left corner of mat, you may hook the left ankle over the right ankle. That doesn't feel great to all hips, so only do that if your hip likes it. If your arms like it, you can catch the right wrist with your left hand and inhale to traction the arm bones up from the shoulder joint. Exhale to release the right shoulder and the whole right side body heavy onto the mat. Optional, those of you playing with crossing ankles can switch to right ankle over left. It'll put the traction in a different place in hip. Make sure hips are happy. Then release any binding you have. Baby step your feet over to the bottom right corner of your mat. Option to pin the left ankle by hooking your right on top. Option to catch your left wrist bones and draw the arm bones up from the relaxed shoulder. Exhale, heavy shoulder. Teeth fall away from each other. Those of you with crossed ankles, maybe switch the cross. And come back to center. Let's roll onto our left side. We'll move into side lying poses. Now, if you have a blanket under your head, you might keep it before you lie all the way down on side. Option to take your roll, put it back between your thighs for Sideline Tandasana. If it's right for you to have left arm overhead, I actually like the blanket on my shoulder as a little extra height. You can rest head on shoulder or have the arm forward and a blanket under head. So head is in line with spine, with the center line. It's fine if your head hangs off, if that neck feels like a sweet release for your neck. Now, invitation, if you want to play with using one of the edges of your yoga mat to line yourself up. Left shoulder, left hip, left ankle. You can. You don't have to be that fussy. We're mostly doing feeling rather than what this looks like. And holding the roll between the thighs, or actually the roll is holding your legs hips width apart. If you prefer to do that without the roll, fine. Let's put our hand on our right ribs for a moment and breathe into that TA breathing. Inhale to expand the rib cage out 360, expanding around the waist, and exhale almost like a corset, hugging in front ribs. And then keep the front ribs softly in, breathe into the back ribs. Put your hand down in front of your hips and maybe tilt the right hip slightly forward toward your elbow. So you're in the place where it feels like you're going to roll on belly. Now you're in your side lying balance. And those little contractions or wobbles you might feel as you try not to roll on your belly, that's your core. That's just spinal muscles that hold you up straight. Figure out a new orientation space so you can play. Optional, if you're feeling like really playing with balance, you can extend arms up overhead, one or both arms. If you want to change leg position into tree or anything else, you can play. Keep breathing back ribs out. Exhale, hug low belly in so your butt doesn't stick out too much to catch you off balance, or to try to create the balance artificially. All right, release into a fetal curve, hand down, fold your knees in. I like to slide my roll down here between my shins, my ankles, to keep my legs hip width, but also to support the knees and ankles. You can choose instead to stack your left knee on your roll or take it away. And then reach right arm to the ceiling. Inhale, exhale, spinal twist. Right hand lowers either to the ground or maybe you put right hand on hip. Chin falls down to right collarbone if that feels like a release for your neck. Hands can be any way to support your hips. Left hand might be on right thigh, right hand might be on right hip or sacrum. And some of you like to roll onto your back from here, picking your knees up. I prefer to come back into the fetal curve and then roll onto right side. I'll rearrange myself so I'm still seeing you, but you don't have to look at me. You can just listen. So setting up your sideline Tandasana with or without the roll between your thighs. Keep your legs hips width apart. Blanket under head or arm under head, whatever you like. Edge of yoga mat if you want. Shoulder, outer hip bone, ankle bone all on one line, or as much as possible. A tendency is for the heels to go forward, the butt to go back. That little pike with our hip flexors, that's fine. But if you can play with unpiking, pressing the heels back, the left hip slightly forward, and come into the wobble position. And kind of thrusting the front ribs out is another compensation. So just breathe the back ribs out. Option to extend left arm overhead if you want to come into an Urdhva Tadasana on your side, or to play with tree or your variations. And then come into the fetal curve, hand down to support, hug your knees in. Keep the roll where it is if that feels yummy, or shift it down between your ankles, shins, or underneath your bottom knee. If your right arm's overhead, you can free it for spinal twist, left arm to sky. Exhale, open. Or again, hands on hips, legs. Might feel very supportive and grounding as you settle. You can, actually, we're all transitioning onto our belly. So come back into fetal curve, move the roll away. And we'll take a moment on the belly for quarter boat, lying with your hands folded, forehead on hands. For some bodies, it actually feels good to have either your folded blanket or you can unroll your roll a bit underneath the chest and shoulders, kind of like you're lying on the beach. Otherwise, just be on your mat. Legs hips width apart. Relax any gripping in the buttocks. Breathe into back bottom ribs. Fan them off your low back. Exhale, curl the pubic bone down to the mat and start to slide your right toenails towards bottom of mat. Lengthening the right leg bone from the hip joint. And some of you will feel so much space that your right leg will start to rise up. Then activate the foot. But release any gripping in the buttocks. If anything, just contract right around the sitting bone, but not right in the cheek. This is about lengthening, not lifting up. Making space in the hips. One more breath like that. Exhale, release your leg down. Relax everything to earth. Inhale the back bottom ribs off your low back. Exhale, curl pubic bone down. Start to slide the left toenails down your mat. And again, I'm not concerned if there's actual movement here. We're not trying to move any bones out of their joints. But see if you can feel for a stretch, a space, a traction that you can nourish with your breath. Everything else in your body is relaxed as possible. And release both legs down. Sphinx Variations. Find your roll. We won't hold this as long as we would a yin sphinx, but we'll set up to support our bones in a way that our muscles can relax. So option one, you can do this, all right, sphinx with no props. You're welcome to do the yin variation. Elbows under shoulders, hands forward. And this is an intentional compression in our low backs and our adrenals. A lot of us are already plenty compressed in that area. We're trying to decompress. One of my favorite ways to do that is to unroll the roll enough it can go into low belly. I'm going to show 3 different options. Low belly, so that my pelvis actually hangs down towards the mat, and that takes the compression out of low back. Maybe that's enough. Variation 2, keep your roll nice and fluffy, maybe even make it fluffier, pad it with another blanket. So you can have it underneath the whole belly and rib cage, and you can actually fold your arms and hold it. Does the same thing, decompresses low back, but gives a little extra support for the rest of the spine and the shoulders. And if your shoulders, my shoulders, I was on an airplane yesterday, my shoulders are a little tweaky. Hey, everything's a little tweaky. That's a lot of the theme of this class. Just hug your roll, hug it, rest on it. Again, like you're reading a book at the beach, let everything else relax. Shoulders can shrug up. We're only going to be here for maybe a minute or so, not a full yin posture. So support yourself in a way that you can settle into the ground below. Head can hang. For some low backs, that actually feels really nice. I prefer to keep my neck neutral. Some bodies, some of you are propped up higher. You actually like to look up, let the throat open. If you can relax your neck that way and that feels yummy, that is not incorrect. It just doesn't work for a lot of bodies, but maybe yours. Just a few more moments. And you can either move the roll out of the way altogether as you come down. If you're in a non-supported sphinx, just come down slow. This can be shocking to come out of a passive pose. Or you can keep hugging the roll. Just move it up your chest a little bit so you can rest your head on it. Sorry for the microphone sounds. So for somebody, it's coming all the way down to the mat is too much counter pose for the back, at least for the first few breaths. Maybe separate your feet a little wider. Roll the heels out, turn the big toes in. And maybe a little wiggle from the hip side to side feels right. A little glide in the sacrum. All right. Option to come back into a child's pose or to do some cat's cows. Next place we're heading is to standing. So if there's a better way, like you roll back onto your back or onto your side in a fetal curve. So come back to neutral. And don't let me create needs for you. If you're ready to stand up, you keep breathing, you stand up. Next pose. Oh, Eve Marie, were you there the whole time? Hi. Sorry, you're below my line of sight. I'm going to teach this at a wall or a chair. I'm going to teach it at a chair because I can't reach the wall in this space, but I will pantomime it at a wall. It can also be done in tabletop. We've done this in tabletop, our rhomboid push-ups. So if you're at a wall, stand at your wall with your hands shoulder height, maybe a little wider than shoulders. And just come into a Tadasana. If you're in tabletop, find neutral table. If you're using chair, bed, or couch, you'll come into kind of a quadruped position with a straight spine. And the first few breaths, we'll simply find our breath again, breathing the back bottom ribs off the low back. So for some of us leaning over, I tend to collapse in the low back, breathe the back ribs off to decompress. Exhale, hug the low abdominals in to lengthen spine. A few breaths in neutral. If you're in quadruped or leaning over a chair bed, you can relax your neck to the point of hanging if that feels right to you. Some necks don't relax when they hang. That's stressful. Then just do what feels relaxed. All right, next time you breathe into your back bottom ribs, your chest moves towards your hands. So there's a little collapse in the shoulders. Exhale, the upper back up between your shoulder blades. Inhale into back bottom ribs as the chest sinks. So it's not like a cow tilt. The spine stays neutral. The shoulder blades move in towards each other. Exhale, the shoulder blades move apart. The upper back rises. At the wall might look a little like inhale, chest towards the wall, shoulders back. Exhale, upper back between shoulders. It might not look like anything. I want you to get breath into this area. Elbows may bend slightly. Actually, elbows bend as much as you need. Just realize this is a movement for your shoulders, not your elbows. If possible, the eye of the elbow is spinning forward, the biceps forward for correct alignment. I like externally rotated. If that hurts your shoulders, don't worry. Keep the elbow pits looking at each other. All right, 2 more breaths wherever you are. And then find your way up to standing neutral. If you're at the wall, you might need to walk towards the wall. If you're a little off balance, find your roll for calf lengthening. And option to use your wall or chair for this. Otherwise, we'll just do it freeform. Unroll your roll to about half the size it was when it was fully rolled up. So it's more like the size of a rolled up yoga mat. Or roll up your yoga mat. Some bodies like a firmer surface for calf lengthening. That's great. Option, if you're working like on a chair or a couch or something you're leaning over, and if it's right for you, you can put both feet on the roll, heels off, and try to line up so your outer hip bones end up over your outer ankles and your spine straight-ish. Or work one leg at a time. I'll let you choose which one. If you're at a wall, you can use the wall for balance while you put one foot on the roll. The other foot can either be forward for more stretch or slightly back to help you balance. Or don't use the roll. Put one foot on the roll, bring your hip bones back over your ankles, and relax the whole back of your leg down into your heel. Breathe the back of your spine up towards the sky. Those of you doing one leg at a time, switch if you haven't already. Those of you doing both feet, you might be ready to step off the roll into a down dog type shape on your chair or couch. Just walking back so you can straighten and stretch your arms. Yeah. All right, and then find your way up to standing down dog variations. Those of you on the roll, step off the roll, move the roll aside. And shin lengthening. We did the back leg, let's do the front. So whichever leg you put on the roll first, if you did one leg at a time, step back onto those toenails. Feel free to use your wall. I wouldn't bend down over a prop. You can. It'll just reduce the stretch a little bit. But step back onto your toenails. Make sure your inner ankle is pressing in a little bit, not rolling to outer ankle. Inhale, the back bottom ribs out. Relax your low belly. Exhale, hug low belly in. Drop your tailbone down. And you might feel stretching front of the ankle. Some of you feel up the shin, right up into your hip if you're dropping your tailbone down. And step that foot forward, the stretching foot forward, and step back onto the other toenails. You turn your knee under just slightly, but make sure you're not rolling to outer ankle. Press the inner ankle into an imaginary wall in the center line. Breathe the back bottom ribs up off the kidneys. Relax low belly out. Exhale, massage low abdominals in. Drop the tailbone straight down like a plumb line. And step back into Tadasana. Come back to your mats if you went to a wall. Simple sun breath. Option for moving the arms. Standing in Tadasana. Part 1, hands at heart center. Inhale the arms, the hands straight up. And exhale, bring them back to center. 2 more like that. Simple up and down motion. Inhale, arms up. You can look up or you can keep the gaze straight ahead. Exhale, center. Inhale up. Exhale, center. Now, if you're working with shoulder issues, low back issues, maybe stay with that. Or drop the hands down. Inhale, reach the arms forward and up. Maybe palms come together. They don't have to. Exhale down the way they come up. Center. Heart center. Inhale, hands down, sweep the arms up. Exhale, arms down, hands to heart center. One more like that. Inhale, sweep forward and up. Exhale, down and back to center. This time, arms out to the side if that's safe for you, down and up. Inhale, out to the side, sweep up. Exhale, right down to center. One more like that. Inhale, sweep out and up. Exhale, bring it back to center. And last variation starts the same. Inhale, arms out and up. And come back to center the same way you went in. Exhale, back down and around. Inhale, down to sweep up. Exhale, sweep down, come to center. All right, close your eyes and take 3 sun breaths, any arm motion or 0 arm motion, as you please. Let's do a dancing warrior variation. Once you come back to center, separate your feet 4 feet apart. Estimate. Turn the right toes out. Bend your right knee. Arms out to the sides. Inhale, press your feet down to straighten your legs and bring palms together overhead. Exhale, press back into warrior 2. Again, inhale, rise. Exhale, press. 2 more, optional with the arms. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hands to center, and then open 2. And last one, do it whichever way you like. And everyone, bring hands to center, straighten the right leg. Turn the right toes in. Turn your left toes out. Bend your left knee, spread your wings. Inhale, arms up, straight legs. You can look up if you want. Just feel your heels. Exhale, press back down 2. 3 more breaths. At this point, any arm movement that feels like it expands your breath. If you're not sure yet, close your eyes and keep feeling. And when you finish your last one, bring hands to heart, straighten your left leg, turn the toes in. Hands to your waist. Draw the elbows back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Tuck your chin down a little bit as you breathe your chest up, up, up. And either stay here in the super person shape for a few breaths, or come into a forward fold in the same shape for at least 1 or 2 breaths, squeezing shoulders back, tucking chin in. Bend your knees as much as you like. And then put your hands either on your legs or on the ground, or stay in that shape if you prefer. Once your hands are on the ground or you're swaying, you can, of course, bend a knee at a time, or take some gentle movements with your spine. Get some breath into the hamstrings and hips and the low back. If you're still in the upright super person, release into a Tadasana. All right, inhale to a flat back, hands to your waist, or put your hands on your thighs. Bend your knees if you like to help you come up. Stand with your feet 3 feet apart. Turn the right toes out. Put your hands on your hips. Right knee might need to bend a little bit as you feel for the crease in your right hip where the hip bone, the leg comes out of the hip, and kind of karate chop into that crease so it tilts your hips. And then right hand can come to thigh or shin for a pretty high triangle. I want you to tilt your hips, but I'm not concerned with the spine coming low. And that hip tilt can put a pull on the hamstrings, groin, so bend the knee if you need to. Nice. Bring your left hand to your left hip bone, right outside like the hip leg area. Press down on that. That should help pull your spine back up. Turn the right toes in, the left toes out. Karate chop with your left hand into your hip crease a little bit to tilt your hips. And this can be your triangle right here, feeling into the tilt and then breathing the right side of shoulder open. Or you can open your arms into any other triangle. Bring your right hand onto your hip bone. Press down on your hip bone to pull your spine up. Let's find our way down to our seats. Some of you will want to turn your toes out, bend your knees, and take a moment in spider, kind of a high squat. Hands or elbows on knees. You're welcome to dance your hips out. You might dance your way down to a lower squat into Malasana squat, or you can put your hands down, crawl down onto your knees, and roll off to a hip. If there's a safer way for you to come down, you follow your body's cues. Let's come into Badakanasana, soles of the feet together. Feel free to sit up on blankets, or maybe enough blanket to kind of tilt your pelvis forward, your pubic bone forward, taking a pressure rounding back out of the low back. So kind of the opposite of sitting in furniture. A lot of our furniture, certainly our cars, are built that way. Protects us in an accident, but not really great for our bones and our joints. All right, Badakanasana A, hold your ankles, roll your shoulders back. Breathe the rib cage up off your hips. Tuck your chin down. Slow, full breath, eyes closed, or softly gazing at toes. And lift your chin. Inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, lean forward, lead with your heart. And then if you like, hands can come to the ground. Head and neck can relax. But feel for breathing forward, lengthening the spine with your breath. Straight-ish spine, at least low spine. And reach back with your tailbone, hug your low belly in, and slowly come up. Hands can help a lot. Finally, Badakanasana C, or Tortoise Variations. Your feet may come forward a bit. You may intentionally tuck your chin and round your head down. Or you might just simply put your hands forward and relax your body, not trying to get anywhere. Or for some bodies, this feels actually like a nice propping tortoise variation. Lift your knees so you can slide your hand from inside underneath your ankle shin. So almost the same as using yoga blocks, but it's your own arms. And softening in. Of course, you can use real yoga blocks instead. Whatever relaxed neck is for you. If that's a hanging head, cool. Gradually let it go. Or just feel for lengthening and softening. And then round yourself up the way you came in. Pull your belly in. Lift your knees to free your hands if they're under there, or you can move your feet forward. Let's see, are your rolls still intact? See if your roll is still around. If not, you can use a folded up blanket behind you. If you're using something like a folded blanket, something that would go down the length of your spine, you can sit right in front of it. If you're using the roll, sit about 6 inches in front of it. 4 to 6 inches. So eventually it'll go into your rib cage. But let's start sitting with the feet in front of your hips or a little wider, hands behind your knees. I'm going to show you a real fast forward version of what we're about to do. We'll do a few of these like Pilates type things. Inhale to lengthen spine. Exhale to tuck your chin, tuck your tail, pull belly in. Then inhale, re-lengthen. Exhale to come in about 3 times. Then we'll take a few breaths to exhale, pull in some more. And I really want you to feel for contracting chin in, belly in, not straining neck, just like you're holding a nectarine. And using that to ease yourself down onto your prop. And then when your head starts to come back, you'll interlace your hands behind your head and neck to support it, possibly hanging back off your prop. Then gently open and close your elbows a couple of times. We'll finish with the elbows pointing to ceiling and neck traction, as if you could elongate your neck to the top of the mat and release the base of your skull into your hands. So, oh, you guys already down? All right, I'll just let you stay if you're comfortable. If you don't feel connected to core, come back. We'll start again. It is important to get that core neck contraction before you release the head back. Those of you feel it, especially if you're doing the head hanging back version. If you're not hanging your head back, it's not important. So those of you lying back in neck traction, elbows point to the ceiling. Massage the neck with your thumbs. Cup the base of the skull in your palms. And just feel for not even tractioning, but like intending to traction the base of the skull off your first neck bone, the first vertebrae. As if there's a space opening up there. Your jaw might release. You'll feel some softening at the soft palate. We'll take 2 more breaths there. And to come out of that, for some of you, it'll feel right to support your head and neck, take a breath, and exhale. Pull your belly in a lot to do kind of a sit up to come up, tucking your chin down in a counter pose. Others, it's better to roll off to your side with a relaxed neck. Good. And then you can move your props out of the way, come onto your back, hug your knees into your chest. Let your head roll side to side. And if you like, you can circle the knees a bit with your hands or gently press them forward and hug them in, massaging back body into your mat. If you want any propping under your head, of course, add that. And set your feet down. And almost like you're heading into bridge, but you're not. You're just pressing your feet down enough that you can lift the tail and tuck it under, curling your pelvis under, getting the back or the top of the sacrum to relax onto the mat and even the low back maybe. And then settle your hips down. And if it's right for you, you can glide one leg out slowly at a time into Shavasana. If you prefer to do your Shavasana in a knee bent variation, you set that up. If the roll between your thighs was a helpful way for your legs to relax for Shavasana instead of knees together, you can use that. Take a full breath in. Expand your belly, your ribs, and your heart. And sigh it out. Move the fingers and the toes. If a full body stretch sounds yummy, you might interlace your hands to reach them up overhead, palms press away from you, back ribs breathe to earth, or hands can be free. And then maybe you bend one knee at a time, like our leg glides, to ease yourself either off to one side or to draw your knees in. Hold behind your legs and rock yourself up to sitting. We'll sit with the palms pressed together. The thumbs press into your sternum and lift your heart. Bow your head to your heart. Feel it beat. Feel and hear all the other mechanisms of life within. And from the space, we bow to each other. Namaste.